Good evening YouTube, welcome back to Motorcycle Fixer channel. This evening I'm going to be carrying on with our Z155 engine. I'm going to put the stator plate on first and the flywheel, and then we're going to do the valve adjustment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fit our stator plate. Before you fit the stator plate, check that the two O-rings, so there's one there and one at the top, they sit behind where the bolts go through the stator plate to hold it on. Make sure that your two O-rings are there. What you also want to check is that the O-rings, let me take my glove off, if you feel the O-rings, they've got to stick out further than the face. If they're flat and they don't stick out further than that face, then you need to replace them, because they won't seal as well as you'd like if they leak. That means you've got to take your stator plate pack off, so it's best to check them before you put it on. So that O-ring there and that O-ring there must be sticking out further than that face, and then so when you bolt your stator plate on, it squashes the rubber, and that's what makes a seal. Okay, so take my other glove off. It's going to be easier, I think. So there's our not very clean in this case stator plate. Next thing, before you put it on, check that the O-ring around the outside is present, and again you need to check that the O-ring sticks out further than that face, because if that's flat and is squashed into the groove, then that won't seal either. And make sure all this diameter there is clean and there's no bits in it, because if you've got a bit on the O-ring when you push it in, then that could cause it to leak as well. You've also got a seal. You need to make sure that oil seal is in there and is in fairly decent condition. So again, there's the three seals basically there, the O-ring and those two O-rings. Make sure they're all in good condition, because you don't want to take it back apart because it's leaking. The stator plates go on your shaft like that, and the pickup for the spark is always at the back. Well, it is on the ones I've done anyway. I've never found one that haven't been, but okay. And that is the problem with these, is that the chain comes through the casing, smashes that off, and then one goes back. Have a look at one of my other videos where I explain that. So, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to just lubricate all the way around this O-ring, because it will help to push it in. So all the way around, just put a bit of oil all the way around. And there we are, that should help us. This O-ring has got to fit in. You see the chamfer on the front of there, so it's got to fit into that diameter there. So push it on the shaft. Try and get, when you're pushing it on, try and get the holes lined up as close as you can when you push it on. And that makes it easier, then you don't have to twist it or try and twist it after it's in there. So okay, so now we've got it there. I'm just going to try and lightly tap it in place. I think what I'll do is I'll just tap on the ends of those bolts with the screwdriver. I don't want to damage any of the stator plate. So obviously this cast aluminium is very brittle, So it's in at the bottom there, but that top part isn't, so I'm going to put it there. See if we can just tap it in. Let me see. There we are, that's the bottom bit going in. Okay, so that's our stator plate in place. Just check now that the holes in the stator plate line up with the holes behind, because if they don't, you are going to have to turn it a bit. They are countersunk screw heads, so they do self-center, but it is quite tight to turn it, so it may not correct itself, and then your spark timing is going to be out from the pickup. So it is best to just get it as close as you can before you put the screws in. This one's a little bit off, so I just need to find a way of turning it without damaging anything. So I'm just going to tap it on. Oh, sorry, it in a way, but okay. So yeah, just move with that little tiny bit, and there we are, that's perfect. So those screw holes now line up perfectly. I'll put the screws in now. So I've got some new screws. These screws come with another stator plate, and they come with new O-rings as well, so I'll keep that for a different time. So there's our screws with our countersink on them. So these should just line up. There we are. And number 2. We're going to tighten these up by hand as much as we can, because we need to compress. Sorry, I'm in the way again. We need to compress the O-ring behind. So I mean, that's 1. And that's 2. There, you know, as tight as I can get them. So that's our flywheel. That's our stator plate fitted. Next up, we're going to fit our flywheel. Make sure the taper in the flywheel is clean, so it has a nice seat onto your crankshaft, and make sure that your woodruff key lines up. There we are. Okay, and then we've got our nut. I'm just going to tighten that up with our 40mm socket. There we are. To tighten these up, I've got this big pair of circuit clip pliers. I've never actually used them for a circlip because I haven't worked on anything that big. I think they're for a machine or plant, but they come in very handy when you want to hold something like this to tighten it up. So you can make, or you can't buy tools for this, or you can make them, but there we are. I just hold it with those, and there we are. That's what flywheel done. That's a handy tip for you. Okay, so this is the bit you've all been waiting for. We're gonna do our valve clearance adjustment. So on these pit bikes, the is that in focus? Yeah, intake valve and exhaust valve. So the intake valve is 0.1 millimeters and the exhaust valve 0.15 millimeters. So okay, it's very easy to do. Intake 0.1 millimeters. This is our feeler gauge. Try and get in focus. There we are, 0.1. So we're going to make sure that our engine is at top dead center on the compression stroke, which means both the valves are closed and there's no pressure on our valve arm. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our, I got two there, see, that's dangerous, isn't it? So this is our 0.1. So we're going to put our 0.1 feeler gauge under the arm, in between. If I can zoom in a few. Oh, it's the first time ever I didn't go the wrong way. So we're going to put our feeler gauge between our rocker arm and the top of the valve, and we're going to wind the top of this in. Now I've bought a tool. You can buy these. Honda, it's a Honda tool, and you can buy these to wind these down. And I gotta be honest, it does make it a lot easier. And I think it was only like £3. So I mean, if you're going to do a few of them, it's worth it. Now you want to wind that down onto the feeler gauge until the feeler gauge is a nice sliding fit, and then you want to tighten this nut up. What I always find with this though is that when you tighten the nut up, it goes loose. So I know not many of you will have one of those tools, so it's just I just do with a needle nose plier. As I said, what I found in the past is when you do the nut up, so it's a 9mm spanner on the nut, when you do it up, the actual gap will become bigger. So you hold the top of your valve adjuster, put your spanner on the nut, and then you hold the square in place and then tighten that up like so, and then check your feeler gauge. Then is a sliding fit. Now my feeler gauge is trapped in there now, so obviously that's not correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the nut. I'm going to back it off a tiny bit, and then I'm going to tighten it up again like so, and then I'm going to check it again. Now this time, as you can see, there's slight friction on it, but it's a nice fit, and that's exactly how you want it. And that is all there is to adjusting the valve clearances on these pit bike engines. You repeat the same thing now as you've just done on that. You want a bit of play in it like that. When you're at top dead center on the compression stroke. I don't know if you can hear it, but you want a bit of, you don't want that to be actually touching the valve. And that basically is setting your valve adjustment on these pit bikes. If there's anything, like I said in the last video, if there's anything you want me to cover on this engine now, I mean, I've covered everything I can that I can think of. If there's anything that you want to see me do to this engine before I sell it, then leave me a comment below, drop me a message. That's all I've got to do to this engine now, is just put the covers on, or I've got to do the valve adjustment on the exhaust. I better remember to do that, but because that's still very loose. But I just got to do that, put the covers on, and it's ready to go. Thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate all your comments and all of you liking the videos, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really does help the channel, and I look forward to making further videos in the future. So thank you very much and have a nice day.